Ladies and gents, welcome back to the channel. We got a good one for you in this episode of Rearrange Rooms. We got the deck finished. It's looking pretty good for the front porch. We have all the stucco done as well for the front of the house. The interior, we got some work done, and also in the back, we did a little cleanup. So let's show you guys exactly what that looks like and get right into it. Let's go. Okay, y'all, let me show you some of the joys of what we get to work with. Look up here. This is our fascia. And if we tap on it, see that? See all that? It's not supposed to do that. So what you're looking at is a bunch of termite damage all along the fascia. So we're gonna have to rip all this shit out of here because we have to put up something new because there's just no way we can leave it like that. We're supposed to get the house painted soon and there's nothing to even paint because all of it's been destroyed. So that's gonna be one of the first things we do on the side of this house. As well, we need to get all of our joints caulked all the way down for all these boards. Now, is it necessarily? No, but it will give you a much nicer finish when the paint is applied to the walls. Now, if we look at the bottom here, again, some more joys. Let's move this guy out the way so you can see. We took down all the bottom here just over the last couple of days. So what you're looking at is a bunch of wood rot. You see how it just like flakes away, just cracks off? That's because the bottom has so much moisture that's gotten wet. It's gotten dry, gotten wet, gotten dry, and over time, all that wood started to deteriorate. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna rip out the bottom portion of all these guys, replace it with some brand new ones before we caulk it, before we paint it, because we need to make sure it's nice and neat. Now, let's swing around and show you guys the front. Okay kids, here's what you're looking at now. We're looking at a finished front stucco. Now the way that it works is, if you guys remember, we had all the really old wood that was up here before. Funny enough, this specific wall was actually in pretty good condition. The sides of it, completely different. Totally rotted out, all bad. We actually had to cut down some new plywood boards, 3/4 inch, put them up on the sides. We had our building paper, we had our metal, we had our stucco. Now, as far as the front goes, we didn't have to do a whole lot other than the paper and the metal itself. Once that went down, we had my guys come out, stucco the finish, smoothed it out, and you get a nice looking front. Now, the reason why I love a finished stucco surface is because if you do a finished smooth texture, you just get like a much nicer look. Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can do stucco. They have knockdown, they've got orange peel. There are different levels of texture that you get, but I always go with a smooth finish because to me, this is just like the most visually appealing one of all of them. Now, if I swing you guys around, I'm gonna show you on the side here. We actually had the windows after they were finished being installed. What we're gonna need to do next, we have to come around, we have to caulk all of our joints because we don't want any water intrusion. So it's always best, even after you finish doing all of your windows, caulk everything around it because you get a nice tight seal. So that's as far as the stucco goes. After that was finished, we had our first base coat of paint put down, which is our primer. The primer could be basically anything, but that's essentially what's gonna be absorbed into that first layer of stucco because it's essentially just like sucking up all that paint. The next thing we're gonna do is test out some paint colors, because remember, I always say you wanna test your paint colors on the outside before you just go to the store and you're like, I want 10 gallons of this one. Last thing you want to do is end up with a paint that you're stuck with because you decided to go with the color that you ended up hating because you didn't test it on your walls. Always test everything, get a nice big swatch. Don't put some little square. It's not the same thing. Put a nice large area, do that a couple times with a couple different samples, then you'll really know what you're gonna want. So we're gonna show you guys the front now as well as the back and how those things turned out. All right, couple things we're gonna show you guys what we did as far as the stucco before we move on to showing you the front steps here. We actually added this, I think some people call it chicken wire. It's just some metal, same thing that you'd use when you're doing stucco. Now, in the process, while we were doing it, behind this wall is this same metal. Now, the reason why I put it down low, because you can actually see underneath the house right here. So that means all kinds of critters, raccoons, possums, squirrels, everything, you could just crawl right underneath there. So I always want to make sure, or we always want to make sure, that we put down some wire to prevent those animals from coming through. Now, the next step that we're going to be doing is they actually sell like this plastic, it's almost like a little trellis, looks like a little X pattern, goes like back and forth here. That's going to cover over this just because visually this isn't very neat. So once we get that wrapped around the house, and man, it smells like shit, bro. Like, you could, there's like something died under this. Shit smells so bad. Anyway, so after we finish putting that down and investigating what the hell that funky ass smell is, we're then gonna put that down and then finish it off with some plants at the front to make it look really good. Now, as far as the steps go, we had a guy come out, he put up some brand new wood for us because they were just falling apart. They looked really, really poor as far as their condition. Thankfully, after we got all the wood in, we reset everything. We got our concrete poured for our columns that are essentially holding up the structure behind the steps themselves, it actually came out really good because we were able to put just enough pitch on it because we had the right foundation to allow for any water once it lands on the porch to actually run off the front, so you don't have to worry about water just basically standing, because that's actually what happened with the last person, that they didn't have the right pitch on it and all the water eventually rotted out the wood that was on top of the steps and we just had to get rid of it. So thankfully everything's been done correctly now. The last thing we need to do is just finish out with the wood trim detail that goes around the front there. That's gonna help prevent water from coming down and then entering into the edges of the front door. I also think it's gonna add a nice little trim, nice little finish that's gonna complete the door, as well as on the front here, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna put a little wood trim all the way around it just because we want a much nicer finish, and I also think it's gonna aesthetically be a little bit better. Plus, because this is a non-impact window, it's gonna be great because if we ever have to put up shutters, we're gonna have something like wood to secure it to really nicely. I gotta deal with that smell, bro. This smells like god awful. It smells so bad, Jesus Christ. So what we have on the front of the house here, just before we go, is our 2 new windows that we installed. These are impact window, which I love about impact is that you don't actually have to use any hurricane shutters. Amazing! We want to shave as much time as we can, and the way that we do that is literally by going impact. Now, the thing about impact that I think is a misconception, that people think that this stuff does not break. It 100% breaks if it's get hit with a missile or projectile. But the big thing is that depending on the wind speed, it won't necessarily enter into the structure, which is the most important aspect of it. Now, in addition to this, and something that I always want to do on every single property, especially ones that are going to be rentals, I always make sure I add some security cameras. Now, this video is not sponsored in any way by Blink, who's actually the device that I'm using here, but I do like the fact that you can connect to them online, you can do them from your phone, you can see basically everything that's happening in real time. So, in addition to that, we're going to show you guys the inside and all the stuff that's happening in there, but we have one more space to show you, which is in the back of the house, so let's go right over and show you what that is. Listen, kids, real estate investing is not for the weak. Let me show you why. So what we have here, after ripping out a couple of the boards that are on the bottom side of this edge, you actually get exposed to what's happening inside of some of these walls here. Now, I don't have a hammer on me, but I showed you. Basically, all the bottom has been torn out because of how much wood rot was actually taking place, as well as termite damage. Now, the reason why this is something that needs to be addressed is because until we can actually affix a new board to it, we can't put anything here because there's nothing to support it. There's nothing for it to hold on to. So over the next day, 2 days, we're gonna have to go back through here, investigate, take off some more of these boards, rip down all this really shitty wood that's just completely destroyed now, have it all replaced so we have something that's nice and strong. Because we also want to make sure that we have a structure that also isn't riddled with all the frass and termite damage that this one currently is. Now, there's a point where when you're doing flips, when you're doing rentals, that you have to find that fine line that says, okay, this is enough, because you're gonna find out, especially on these old wood frame houses, it's just like a can of worms. And the more you open it, the more you get into those worms, the more worms that actually show up. So my best advice to anyone who's doing flips or anyone who's doing this kind of real estate investing, or someone who's just looking to do renovations, just make it strong enough, make it good enough, because you will break the budget. You will lose so much money by trying to repair something that's this far gone. Now, thankfully, this structure is not one that needs to be torn down. That's not the case here, but it is something where it does need extensive repairs and it does need extensive work. So when you're going through it, check out your foundation, check out all the main structural elements, check your wood studs. As long as those are supported and it's holding up well enough, call it quits and fix what you can and then close it up. Because again, you will literally just go doing this forever and ever until you redo the entire house, basically. So said all this to say, the last thing we're gonna do is just open up this section right here, because this is essentially where the bad part is. We're gonna get to some solid wood, or where the wood is now strong, and then we're gonna stop there, we're gonna repair it, we're gonna close it, and then we're gonna call it a day. We are now standing in the backyard where the shed once was. I just had all of it ripped down. I had all the trash. You could look around me. I just threw everything away. I just threw it all away. Now, the reason why I threw all of it away is because, one, that shed is illegal here in South Florida. You cannot have a plastic shed of any kind because it does not meet Florida building code in terms of wind ratings for Miami-Dade County. Now, every shed is gonna have some different code requirements, but I can tell you a plastic shed does not meet it. So I just went ahead and got rid of it. Plus, if the city were ever to come out and they were to take pictures, they would say like, hey, that was put up illegally, you can't have that. So I just did myself a favor, honestly. And it didn't even have doors that closed properly, so it really didn't serve me much purpose. Next on the list, now that the shed's been torn down, I could actually see how shitty the fence looks. Amazing, more shit for me to fix. So what we're gonna be doing, we're gonna be taking down all these bad boards, putting up something new. You could actually see some repairs were done. I don't know by whom. I'm more than likely the last person that owned the house, but we're just gonna continue that all the way through just because, again, you don't want all kinds of critters, you don't want neighbors, you don't want anything popping through that fence or anything turned over on this side that shouldn't be on this side. In addition to that, we still have a little shed. I didn't even know it was here because it was hiding behind the bigger shed. This one, I don't know, maybe we might have to move it somewhere else because, again, we won't be allowed to keep that. Or sometimes what is a great option, go on OfferUp, go on Facebook Marketplace, take some photos, post it, hey, $100, anyone wants to come and pick it up. That way I don't have to pay somebody to get rid of it, and now I can make some money in return. Last thing, all back here, all this dead vegetation, we're gonna get all this stuff torn out, clean it up nice and neat because we wanna have a nice clean surface. Outdoor pavers, now we still haven't figured out exactly what's gonna happen with them, but I do think our best bet, very similar to the shed, is just have somebody come out and say like, hey, free pavers, come pick it up. We got a fire pit of pavers, we got this guy right here, and the reason why I'm not keeping it is because the roots have grown underneath here so much that I'm never gonna have a level surface. Even if I were to cut out all the roots, actually that's not true. I could cut out all the roots, I could do a lot of stuff, but how much is it gonna cost? It wouldn't make any financial sense for me to do all that. The best thing to do, if I got rid of this, put down some pea gravel. That way, no matter how many true roots or anything grow underneath it, pea gravel will just move around the roots and it'll always look pretty finished, pretty neat. In addition to that, we have our outdoor deck. Now, thankfully, this deck is a little bit smaller than some past decks that I've been working on, but it is gonna need to be reframed. So we're gonna have to rip down all these guys, rip up all those existing boards, take down the plastic, rebuild it. But now when it's all said and done, you're actually gonna have a back deck that's really usable and it's gonna look really good too. So just some things to keep in mind for what's coming up. Girls, get that.